Welcome to the Daily Five, your source for the top stories shaping our world. Today, we're diving into five major developments. First, we'll examine the ongoing conflict and humanitarian crisis in Ukraine. Then, we'll turn our attention to the latest economic indicators and the possibility of a global recession. Next, we'll explore the advancements and ethical considerations surrounding artificial intelligence. After that, we'll analyze the increasing concerns about climate change and its impact on global weather patterns. Finally, we'll discuss the upcoming elections and the potential shifts in the political landscape. Let's get started.
1.
The situation in Ukraine is becoming increasingly dire as fighting intensifies across the country. Recent reports indicate a significant escalation in military activity, with both sides engaged in heavy shelling and ground offensives. Civilian areas have been particularly affected, leading to a surge in casualties and widespread destruction of infrastructure. Hospitals, schools, and residential buildings have been hit, exacerbating the already dire humanitarian situation. Millions of Ukrainians have been forced to flee their homes, seeking refuge in neighboring countries or internally displaced within Ukraine itself. The United Nations estimates that over 10 million people are now in need of humanitarian assistance, including food, water, shelter, and medical care. International organizations are struggling to reach those most in need due to the ongoing violence and logistical challenges. The international community has condemned the escalating violence and called for an immediate ceasefire. Diplomatic efforts to broker a lasting peace agreement have so far failed to yield any significant results. Both sides remain entrenched in their positions, with little willingness to compromise. The conflict has had a devastating impact on the Ukrainian economy, with businesses shuttered, supply chains disrupted, and infrastructure severely damaged. The long-term consequences of the war are expected to be far-reaching, potentially setting back Ukraine's development for years to come. The international community has pledged financial and humanitarian aid to Ukraine, but the scale of the crisis is overwhelming. There are growing concerns, the potential for the conflict to spill over into neighboring countries, further destabilizing the region. NATO has increased its military presence in Eastern Europe as a precautionary measure, but has so far refrained from direct military intervention in Ukraine. United States and its allies have imposed sanctions on Russia in an effort to pressure Moscow to escalate the conflict, but the effectiveness of these sanctions remains a subject of debate. The situation on the ground in Ukraine remains fluid and unpredictable. There is a growing risk of further escalation, with potentially catastrophic consequences for the region and the world. The international community must redouble its efforts to find a peaceful resolution to the conflict and provide humanitarian assistance to those in need. The long-term recovery of Ukraine will require a sustained and coordinated effort from the international community. The conflict has already had a profound impact on the lives of millions of Ukrainians, and the scars of war will likely linger for generations to come. The need for a peaceful resolution is more urgent than ever.
2.
The global economy is facing increasing headwinds as inflation remains elevated and central banks aggressively tighten monetary policy. Recent economic data paint a mixed picture, but there are growing signs that a global recession may be on the horizon. Inflation, which surged in the wake of the pandemic and the war in Ukraine, has proven to be more persistent than initially anticipated. Supply chain disruptions, rising energy prices, and strong consumer demand have all contributed to the inflationary pressures. Central banks around the world are now scrambling to bring inflation control. The United States Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, and the Bank of England have all raised interest rates aggressively in recent months, and more rate hikes are expected in the coming quarters. Higher interest rates are designed to cool down the economy by making borrowing more expensive, reducing consumer spending. However, they also risk triggering a recession, by slowing down economic growth too much. There are already signs that the global economy is slowing. Manufacturing activity is weakening. Consumer confidence is declining, and business investment is falling. The war in Ukraine has further exacerbated the economic slowdown by disrupting trade, raising energy prices, and creating uncertainty. Some economists predicting that the global economy will contract in the coming quarters, meeting the technical definition of a recession. A recession would have significant consequences for businesses and consumers alike. Businesses would likely see their profits decline, and some may be forced to lay off workers. Consumers would face higher unemployment, lower wages, and reduced purchasing power. The risk of a global recession is not evenly distributed. Some countries are more vulnerable than others. Countries with high levels of debt, weak financial systems, or heavy reliance on exports are particularly at risk. Emerging markets are also facing challenges as rising interest rates in developed countries attract capital away from emerging economies. The global economy is facing a complex and uncertain outlook. There is a significant risk of a global recession, and policymakers need to be prepared to take action to mitigate the impact. Governments may need to provide fiscal stimulus to support demand and prevent a sharp downturn. Central banks may need to pause or even reverse their interest rate hikes if the economy weakens too much. International cooperation will be essential to address the global challenges facing the economy. The world needs to work together to resolve the war in Ukraine, address supply chain disruptions, and coordinate economic policies. The global economy is at a critical juncture. The decisions that policymakers make in the coming months will have a significant impact on the future global economy.
3.
Artificial intelligence is rapidly transforming our world, with new breakthroughs and applications emerging at an accelerating pace. From self-driving cars to medical diagnosis, AI is poised to revolutionize many aspects of our lives. However, the rapid advancement of inaccuracies is also raising important ethical questions. One of the key concerns is bias. AI confidential gov, and if that data reflects existing biases in society, the AI system will likely perpetuate those biases. This can lead to unfair or discriminatory outcomes in areas such as hiring, lending, and criminal justice. Another concern is job displacement. As AI becomes more capable, it is likely to automate many jobs that are currently performed by humans. This could lead to widespread unemployment and social unrest. There are also concerns about the potential for misuse of AI. AI could be used to create autonomous weapons, to spread disinformation, or to monitor and control populations. The ethical implications of AI are complex and multifaceted. There is no easy answer to these questions. However, it is important to have a public debate about the ethical implications of AI and to develop guidelines and regulations to ensure that AI is developed and used responsibly. Many experts are calling for the establishment of ethical frameworks for AI development and deployment. These frameworks should address issues such as transparency, accountability, and fairness. They should also ensure that AI systems are designed to be safe and reliable. Governments are also starting to take action to regulate AI. The European Union is working on a comprehensive AI Act that would regulate the development and use of AI in Europe. The United States is also considering legislation to address the ethical implications of AI. The development and deployment of AI is a global challenge. It is important for countries to work together to develop common standards and regulations for AI. The future of AI is uncertain. However, it is clear that AI will have a profound impact on our world. It is important to ensure that AI is developed and used in a way that benefits humanity. This requires a thoughtful and ethical approach to AI development and deployment. The potential benefits of AI are enormous. AI could help us to solve some of the world's most pressing problems, such as climate change, poverty, and disease. However, it is important to be aware of the risks and to take steps to mitigate them. The future of AI is in our hands. We must choose wisely.
4.
The effects of climate change are becoming increasingly evident world, with extreme weather events occurring more frequently and with greater intensity. Heat waves are scorching continents, droughts are parching farmlands, floods are inundating cities, and wildfires are raging across vast landscapes. These events are causing widespread damage, displacement, and loss of life. Scientists have long warned that climate change would lead to more extreme weather, and these predictions are now being borne out in real time. Increasing frequency and intensity of extreme weather events are directly linked to the rising levels of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. These gases trap heat, causing the planet to warm. As the planet warms, the atmosphere becomes more unstable, leading to more extreme weather patterns. Heat waves are becoming more frequent and intense due to the overall warming trend. Droughts are becoming more severe as higher temperatures lead to increased evaporation. Floods are becoming more common as heavier rainfall events overwhelm drainage systems. Wildfires are becoming more destructive as hotter, drier conditions create ideal conditions for fire to spread. The impacts of extreme weather events are felt disproportionately by vulnerable populations, low-income communities, people of color, and those living in developing countries are often the most affected. These communities often lack the resources to cope with the impacts of extreme weather, and they are more likely to be displaced or injured. The international community is working to address climate change, but progress has been slow. The Paris Agreement, a landmark international agreement, aims to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. However, current pledges are not sufficient to meet this goal. More ambitious action is needed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and to adapt to the impacts of climate change. Individuals can also take action to reduce their carbon footprint. This includes reducing energy consumption, using public transportation, eating less meat, and supporting sustainable businesses. Climate change is a global challenge that requires a global response. We must all work together to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and to protect ourselves from the impacts of extreme weather. The future of our planet depends on it. The window of opportunity to avert the worst impacts of climate change. Closing rapidly, we must act now to protect our planet for future generations. Thank you for watching The Daily 5. We appreciate you tuning in. Please subscribe to our channel for more news and updates. Thank you for watching The Daily 5. We appreciate you tuning in. Please subscribe to our channel for more news and updates.
5.
The political landscape is set to undergo significant shifts in the coming months as several major elections are scheduled to take place around the world. These elections will determine the leadership and direction of key countries, and their outcomes will have far-reaching consequences for both domestic and international affairs. One of the most closely watched elections is the upcoming presidential election. The election is expected to be a close contest, with the two main candidates holding starkly different views on key issues such as economic policy, social justice, and foreign relations. The outcome of the election could have a significant impact on the country's economy, its social fabric, and its role in the world. Another important election is the upcoming parliamentary election. The election will determine the composition of the country's legislature and will have a major impact on the government's ability to pass legislation. The election is expected to be highly competitive, with several parties vying for power. The outcome of the election could lead to a coalition government or a change in the ruling party. In addition to these major elections, there are also several important regional and local elections scheduled to take place in the coming months. These elections will determine the leadership and direction of local communities, will have a direct impact on the lives of ordinary citizens. The key issues in these elections include local economic development, education, and public safety. The outcomes of these elections will shape the future of local communities for years to come. The upcoming elections are taking place at a time of great global uncertainty. The world is facing a number of challenges, including economic instability, climate change, and geopolitical tensions. The leaders who are elected in the coming months will have a responsibility to address these challenges and to guide their countries through these difficult times. The outcomes of the upcoming elections will have a profound impact on the future of the world. It is important for citizens to be informed and engaged in the political process, to exercise their right to vote. The future of our democracies depends on it. Thank you for watching the Daily 5. We appreciate you tuning in. Please subscribe to our channel for more news and updates.